Pandas. Hello. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. And, well... yeah, I was just out and about doing the thing, as you do, and I didn't have the camera with me. Which didn't change the fact that I found a whole bunch of great stuff. So I'm gonna have to get this unloaded. Now, these chairs seem really great. Another box of wire, too. Let's go. Not to suggest they're particularly excellent chairs, but, you know, they are just plastic stacking chairs. But they're a lot better than the ones in my house, and they were free, so I would call this a win. They're like waiting room chairs, they're like staff room chairs. And they're in good condition, and there's 8 of them. So the rest of this, you saw this last time, I still haven't taken it out, and then a whole bunch of more wire and a bunch more aluminum. Now here's my issue. This. I don't think most of this stuff is going to be super interesting, but it's something I need to get done before we can move on to the next stage, which is something I'm looking forward to sharing. So, one moment. For you anyway, this is going to take me a little time. Well, that's not that bad. Created a little extra space by organizing everything. Took me some time, but I think we're in a good place. Now the next step, I asked, you answered. Thank you all to the Ultimate Recycler and the many others whose names I can't entirely 100% remember, who suggested I build something like Mike the Scavenger, Mr. Scrappity, and Scrap and Pallet Man's old setup on the truck. So I think that's what we're gonna do. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, you'll see. But first, we're gonna need some materials. I've got a plan. Yes, I think we've already got this figured out. I know where to get some wood. Wow. Fancy. Okay. He said there was some good stuff that he was keeping separate, and then there's some... oh dear. That's not exactly what I had in mind. That ain't it, Chief. That's okay. Quest continues. Not a big deal. Now that stuff right there, that's what I'm talking about. She said it was cool. And these are, we can talk about this when I get back, because right now I asked her what she wanted for them, and she said I could just drop off some beers or a bottle of wine. So you know where we're going. All right. Hey, that's pretty cool. She said those were some partially treated or lightly treated cedar planks. So I would say for this application, we got the good stuff. Now it's just a matter of, well, hardware and then assembly. Now, there were actually a couple of these just sitting in the garage when I moved in here. So there was actually a lot of junk in here when I moved in here. But I got rid of most of it except for the stuff that could have been useful. And I'm glad I did, because that is exactly what we're going to use here. This stuff served me well, but it's time for it to go. You know what? I'll clean that up nicely in a second. Right now, do a little test fit. No big deal. Need to remove the tiniest bit of material here. Wish I could say I was doing a good job, but you know what? I'm doing the job. Is it straight? Nah, not even close. But it's probably fine. I'm looking at about 20 inches high. That'll do. This really is one of those close enough kind of scenarios. 26.5 inches in total. Can you write that down? Cool beans. Turns out I got a much nicer, cleaner line when I chisel it out. Who knew? Okay, I like the fit, but there's a couple things that I need to do before I go any further, and that is these items. I found these at Pick and Pull. They were cheap, and I want to protect the side rails of this thing, but they're a little big. So I'm going to have to chop those down, which is great because it means I get a bunch of scrap aluminum. We're making scrap already. Not bad. Now, these don't have holes in them, so I don't want to say guess, but we're just going to guess where the holes are. 6 1/8 in, 2 inches long. There's a lot of things I've never done before, and this is one of them, so it's really not bad. Right, you get the idea. This isn't the point of the video. Let me finish this up and we'll talk in a sec. Now, I did a little shaping and I think they're gonna fit real nice, but before I stick them on here, I removed the foam. I want this to be a little nicer because I'm just gonna use two-way tape. So the correct thing for that, thank you, is called an eraser wheel. There's a lot of different ways you could do it, but this is gonna be the fastest. All right, well, the reality is the eraser wheel did very little. What really helped was the wax and grease remover, also a Body Shop secret weapon. So now, cleaning things really, really well with wax and grease remover, adding a ridiculous amount of two-way tape, and slapping them on there. And then this one we are putting on with self-tapping screws. I know, everybody's favorite.
It's down.
There we go. Already looking meaner. But this was just a distraction. Time to do the thing. The boards, nuts, washers, carriage bolts. Shout out to Jandrew's Landscaping Services for suggesting carriage bolts. I was just going to use regular ones, but I think these are going to look much nicer. So, good idea.
Could we also leave the center window part though open?
Of course.
Because I like that thing.
Me too. You've got to be able to open the back window.
And there.
I'm not very good at it, but that's okay.
Because you make up for it in other skills.
Yeah. Oops.
Shopping. Dadding.
Aw.
Fathering.
That's the same thing. Hey, that's pretty good. Now, that part. We need to protect it. I gotta think about it. I'm not even sure I have all the materials. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna clean those up. Whew. That's hot. And now the finishing touch. Ooh. Well, there we go. All finished up and looking, I'd say, pretty good. She's strong, she's got lots of space, and she was cheap. Total cost, this thing ended up being very affordable, because the wood cost me $16 in beer. Now I know that is going to be the biggest difference because a lot of people are not going to be able to find lumber for basically free, especially with the cost as high as it is now, but I believe in you. Just be resourceful. There's something out there for you. The hardware cost me $20 and I used an entire box of carriage screws, so I'm glad I went with the box instead of just the count that I had initially. And then I did spend $30 at Pick and Pull for these aluminum bits and that metal headache rack that I didn't end up using. It was the 50% off sale, so that's why those were so cheap, but I'm probably not going to factor that into the cost. And I am going to sell the headache rack that I didn't end up using for probably 30 bucks. So let's just zero that out, and it basically cost me $35. But I'm gonna profit that off of that thing, so it's kind of like costing zero. Math can be creative sometimes. I'm gonna say this was basically free, and that's great because the $200 that I had budgeted for this project gets to stay where it belongs, in my pocket. It wasn't terribly difficult, and it didn't take me a long time either. It took me longer than it might take you because I did decide to quickly repaint this corner before I stuffed this metal on top of it. Hopefully those will stay on with the two-way tape. I think they should be good, but I guess we'll just have to see. So that's the end of the project, but I do have one final personal touch that I'm going to add. Actually, newsflash, I just checked the time and this is going to have to wait, so I'll show you the last couple of features that I'm really proud of that was going to sneak in otherwise. That back rail may look a little short, but it's the perfect height to not block the brake light, while also I don't hit my roof, which is pretty sweet. I probably should have made those horns on the side a little taller, but I like the look, and yeah, even if it jumps, it's not going anywhere. Actually, you know what might be nice? I'm not sure if I should leave this the way it is, all natural, or stain it something darker. I do have the stain, or spray paint it black so the whole look of the truck is kind of matchy. Or I could spray paint these aluminum ones black as well. I do have a couple cans of black spray paint that I found that would work perfectly well. So I'd love to know what you guys think as far as how to finish this. Or just leave it the way it is and get to work. Let me know. I maybe should have attached these down there, but I don't think there'll be an issue. It's still perfectly strong and very rigid. Overall, I'm super pleased with how this turned out. And I'm also super pleased that you guys came to hang out. It's always fun to have you around. I am definitely looking forward to the first trash picking scrap run, whatever we choose to do, as soon as possible. And it will be as soon as possible. But I appreciate your patience, and please look forward to that. Leave it better than you found it. Keep doing the thing.